entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, and its author is the excellent Andrew Lowney, who joins us now. Welcome, Andrew. Thank you.
Always a pleasure to chat to you.
As I said, you've been pretty strong in what you've said.
The Rise and Fall of the House of York, as detailed by the meticulous investigative work of biographer Andrew Lowney, presents a narrative that is as tragically predictable as it is shocking. We are witnessing the slow-motion disintegration of a reputation, a spectacle that feels less like a sudden scandal and more like the inevitable collapse of a structure built on rotten foundations. It is rare indeed that a royal story manages to inhabit both of these spaces simultaneously, the weary expectation that there is always more to uncover, and the visceral shock at the sheer brazenness of the details when they finally come to light.
That you think it's a very serious possibility that as more and more revelations come out about Prince Andrew, or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor as he is now, and Jeffrey Epstein and what he got up to in those dark years, that it is not beyond the realms of possibility.
Yet, here we stand, confronted with a fresh wave of allegations regarding Prince Andrew, or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he faces the reality of a life stripped of its regal styling, allegations that suggest his fall from grace is nowhere near hitting rock bottom. According to Lowney, a man who has spent years excavating the hidden architecture of the House of York, the behavior of the prince went far beyond the wandering eye often attributed to entitled aristocrats. The picture Lowney paints is not of a man making occasional mistakes, but of an organized operation.
I think you probably skipped to the Middle East before that happens, but this is bad news for him. I never expected this to happen. The Trump administration have fought for years to suppress this material. They can see that for its sort of voting base that it was being very damaged.
He alleges the existence of an entire network, a complex web of staff, acquaintances, formal aides, and informal hangers-on, whose unspoken but primary role was to facilitate the prince's desires. This was not dating in any traditional sense. This was procurement. The allegations suggest a system where invitations were quietly, discreetly issued to women at high-end nightclubs, luxury hotels, diplomatic events, and even cultural performances. The criteria were reportedly specific and unwavering, tailored to a very particular taste that favored young blondes and, frequently, ballerinas. It forces one to pause and consider the logistics of such a claim. How does an operation like this continue for decades within one of the most scrutinized families on the planet without someone, somewhere, pulling the emergency brake? If Lowney's descriptions are accurate, this behavior wasn't occurring in the shadows or in dark corners where the palace machinery couldn't see it. It was woven into the very fabric of his daily lifestyle. We are told of scenarios where the prince would sit in the audience of the royal ballet, spot a young dancer who caught his eye, and allegedly tap his personal protection officer, a highly trained, taxpayer-funded servant of the crown, to extend an invitation. This is a profound betrayal of the office. These officers are sworn to protect the life and limb of the royal family, yet the allegation is that they were reduced to playing matchmaker, effectively weaponizing the shield of royal protection to facilitate private conquests. The frustration within the diplomatic ranks was apparently palpable. Lowney recounts a striking anecdote involving a diplomat who, when asked by Andrew's team to source blondes for an upcoming event, finally snapped. His response, "I am a diplomat, not a pimp," is a rare moment of clarity. It is an instance where the bubble of deference was punctured by the sheer absurdity of the request. To hear someone inside that rarefied world speak with such blunt, unvarnished frustration is extraordinary. It suggests that for many professionals surrounding the Duke, the open secret of his behavior was a source of deep professional embarrassment long before it became a matter of public record. These embarrassing claims land at a moment when Andrew has already lost nearly everything that once defined his existence. The military titles that connected him to his identity as a Falklands veteran, the charitable patronages that gave him a sense of purpose, the style of His Royal Highness, and even the freedom to use the Duke of York title in a public capacity, all have been surrendered. They were stripped away because the questions surrounding his past simply refused to fade. Context is everything here. These new allegations from Lowney are not landing in a quiet period of rehabilitation. They are landing in the middle of a reputational freefall that began years ago and has accelerated sharply since the files regarding Jeffrey Epstein began to resurface. Lowney's research suggests that the prince's indiscretions went well beyond a few questionable nights out in London. There is a sense of foreboding about the files that are yet to be released, with observers noting that previous administrations fought for years to suppress material that could be damaging to powerful figures. The implication is that Andrew's involvement is a thread that, when pulled, unravels a much larger tapestry. Lowney writes that Andrew sometimes slept with women he did not realize were prostitutes, a staggering admission of recklessness for a man in his position. He describes trips abroad where Andrew reportedly shunned the security and protocol of official royal residences in favor of hotels. The reason? Freedom. Hotels offered a level of anonymity and a lack of oversight that palaces, with their logs and staff, could not. In these hotels, it is alleged that escorts posing as businesswomen or professionals were made available for him to choose from, a menu of sorts presented under the guise of social interaction. While Loney is careful to frame these accounts as stories told over the years, the sheer volume of them, and the fact that they have been repeated privately by so many different sources for so long, gives them a weight that is hard to dismiss. Take, for example, his patronage of the English National Ballet in the late 1990s. This role was taken on shortly after the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, a time when the monarchy was desperate to stabilize. Yet, according to staff members cited by Loney, the organization felt that Andrew was foisted upon them. His interest, they claim, was not in the technical prowess of the dancers or the artistic direction of the repertoire. His interest was in the dancers themselves. The scenes described are deeply uncomfortable. When he attended performances, he reportedly insisted on hand-picking who sat in the royal box with him. The names were often not provided to the company in advance. It was simply assumed by the staff that the guests were mistresses, perhaps a yoga teacher, or the occasional businessman he was courting. The chairman of the ballet was reportedly allowed in only at the interval for a brief drink, and that was the extent of the professional interaction. It paints a picture of a man who treated a prestigious cultural patronage less as a responsibility to the arts and more as a private lounge for his personal entertainment. To truly understand why these claims resonate so deeply, one must look back at Andrew's dating history following his divorce from Sarah Ferguson in 1996. This is where the patterns identified by Loney begin to emerge with clarity. He dated the businesswoman Aurelia Cecil for a time, but friends reported that she struggled immensely with the constant glare of public attention and, crucially, with the behavior of the sycophants and fixers surrounding the prince. Then there was the rekindled relationship with photographer and actress Koo Stark. They had dated before his marriage, and many who knew them intimately believed she was the one he truly cared for, perhaps the only one who truly understood him. After the divorce, they reconnected, but the pressure of their shared past and the tabloid media's obsession with her history as an actress ultimately drove a wedge between them again. Following these relationships, reports began linking him to various socialites in the late 90s and early 2000s. These were women who, according to reporting over the years, described a Jekyll and Hyde character, charming and affable in public, but unpredictable and entitled in private. One woman who attended parties with him through mutual friends alleged that he sometimes behaved in ways that made guests visibly uncomfortable. We are not necessarily talking about criminal allegations in every instance here, but certainly behavior that most senior royals would never dream of exhibiting. Loud, crude jokes, inappropriate comments, and a fixation on young women that bordered on obsessive. None of this is new information in isolation, but seeing it organized into a coherent pattern by Loney catches the attention of even the most seasoned royal watchers. A recurring and dark theme throughout this narrative is his friendship with Ghislaine Maxwell. Their closeness has been widely noted for decades, often explained away as a social friendship between elites. But Loney emphasizes a more functional role, Maxwell as the gatekeeper and the introducer. She moved in social circles filled with the very demographics Andrew coveted: young women, dancers, aspiring professionals, and models. Many have said Maxwell carried herself as a woman who could make things happen for people, a power broker in a world of beautiful young women. Andrew reportedly relied on her for contacts, for introductions, and for access to the sort of glamorous, high-octane parties he enjoyed. What was once presented as merely a social connection now carries a sinister tone in the light of her conviction and what has since been exposed about her operations with Epstein. Then, inevitably, there is the matter of Virginia Giuffre.